Hello and welcome to What Goes On Here. I'm your host, Patrick Phillips, and today we're on the Gilfillan Trail, which was named after the Gilfillan farm settled by Alexander Gilfillan in the late 1700s. Today, a friend of mine, Miss Jean Brown, will take us on a tour and explain more about the farm.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. We're here today with Miss Jean Brown of the Historical Society to learn more about this interesting place in Upper St. Clair. Okay, and what was the size of the original Gilfillan farm?
This particular farm was probably about 150 acres, and 60 of those acres belong to the township now as Gilfillan Park. 15 acres have the farm buildings and the house on it. 37 of those acres are the Springfield development, and 25 acres are the Consolidation Coal Company offices.
Okay, and how much is left now?
Well, they just have the 15 acres that are still in their name,
Okay.
yes.
What type of farming was done here?
They had cattle, but it was known mostly as a sheep farm. They did have some chickens and some pigs. They had work horses, a team of work horses and a team of horses that pulled the carriage, but they never had other horses here.
Okay, in present day, is there any farming going on here?
No. Mr. Alexander got rid of his last sheep last fall.
Okay. We're standing here in front of a barn which John Gilfillan designed, and he and a carpenter, along with hundreds of other men, worked through the heat of a June summer to build it. And when exactly was this particular barn constructed?
It was built in the 1870s, and all the wood for the barn was cut down on the property here, and they pulled it up with ropes to get the wood into place. There was a sawmill down where McLaughlin Run is, probably near where the township buildings are, and the wood was hauled there by a team of oxen to be sawed into the right lengths for the barn.
And since that day, has this barn been reinforced at all?
No, it's just been painted. The tin roof was put on in 1898, and it's the same tin roof.
Okay, thanks. Maybe we can take a look inside of this barn.
In barns in western Pennsylvania were always built on 2 levels. The animals were kept in the under part of the barn, and the hay and the feed was kept in the upper part of the barn, and the heat from the animals kept the feed from freezing in the wintertime. So once Mr. Church was redoing their steeple, the bats all left and went over to the house, the closest house, and the people were frantic. So I think they put some kind of screens up that those birds can get through.
Got a picture.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay. This is where the carriage house is. This is where they kept their horse and buggies, the buggies and the sleigh that they used in the wintertime. The red building was where the sheep were kept. And these other buildings were for tools and for the chickens. This was the original Pittsburgh, Washington stage road. It's going down to Orr Road. Orr Road went to the Orr Farm, and many of the other roads went to the farms like Lesnett Road. There's the bell that they called.
Okay, now we're standing here beside the wash house, where I noticed there's a large bell over this canopy here. I was wondering what that was used for?
That was used to call the farmers in at lunchtime and dinner time to eat. Or if there was a message for them, they would ring that bell. They didn't have portable telephones then.
Okay, and what exactly was this room used for?
Well, they did the washing out here because they had to boil the water, and they would do it out here, and then they would hang it on lines to dry. They didn't have washers and dryers then.
And how often would they do this?
Probably every day.
Every day?
When it was warm, yeah.
Okay. You walk inside?
Come on inside. Yeah.
And this room here is filled with old and very interesting artifacts. We're not real sure what some of them are, however, she's going to try to explain a few of them.
Well, there's an old kettle hanging up there, and there's some old tools hanging on the wall here. I don't know what those things, they look like they were to spread some kind of feed or seed around, but the fireplace would have been used to heat the water to wash the clothes. They would have boiled the water, and there's a big old kettle that they probably hung on that kettle hook there over the fire to boil the water.
How old would you estimate some of these artifacts are?
Well, the building certainly would have been built before, in the 1960s, 1860s, probably.
And we're looking here at the workmanship involved in this house, and I was wondering like where these bricks came from and how it was constructed.
All the brick were made on the property. The clay here makes very good brick, and the clay was dug and formed and burned in a kiln that was made on the property here. All the wood was cut on the farm and planed at the mill on McLaughlin Run, and all the glass was handmade. If you look real closely at it, you can see that it has little bubbles and ripples in it. So it's all original glass.
Okay, and this water pump, is this still functional today?
Yes, it is. Would you like to see it
Sure.
work? Can you get that?
Oh, great.
Yeah. All the subsurface water in western Pennsylvania stays at 55 degrees, summer and winter. Never changes the temperature. It stays at that temperature, and we'll go down. We can feel it when you go down into the spring house. Well, the house is on the National Historic Houses, and you can't tear them down or change them. They have to be restored and passed. But they said when we pass away, you'll know what's going to happen. It'll be in the will. So that's all we know.
Okay, we're standing here now in front of the spring house, and there's a rippling stream that leads right into it. I was wondering where this water is coming from?
Well, it's the same water that comes out of the pump up there, and it would come out in a spring that was further up the hill. This area is full of springs. Many, many houses that have been built have had to have the spring piped underneath the house because we have so many springs here. And the water, again, is 55 degrees. People kept their food in the spring house because they didn't have refrigeration at that time. And they had a pond out in the front here that one year they attempted to cut ice out of it and save it, but it didn't work nearly as well as the spring house.
Did the springs here have any influence on the naming of the housing plan Springfield?
Yes, definitely.
Let's take a walk inside the spring house. We're inside the spring house now, and I could tell as we stepped in here, the temperature dropped a good 10-20 degrees, and I was wondering, is this how they kept their food cold and chilled?
Yes, it was always cool in here, but they put the food down in a trough where the water was constantly running by it and keeping it cool. Today our refrigerators are supposed to stay at 40 degrees, but at that time it seemed like they survived with it at 55.
And as I mentioned before, you're the president of the Historical Society, and how can people find out more about this society?
Well, they can call me at my home, 833-2323, or they can get in touch with me through the library.
Is there any way people can have a look around this property? Or is it off limits to the public for most part?
Mostly it's off limits to the public. I had to get permission to come in.
Yeah, this is very interesting. For having us on a tour of the Gilfillan farm. And we'll see you next time what goes on here. I myself am going to take a walk around the trail right now, so we'll see you next time. walking man walks on.